Hi, thanks for joining me on this Word for Wednesday. I know it's been a couple weeks since I posted one of these. Things have been busy around Lakefield Baptist Church. One week we had our church cleanup day, which was a success, and things have just been busy. But here I am. I want to give you another Word for Wednesday for today. And since today is a nice day, I thought I'd come do it down by the lake. Yeah, since it's mid-August, we're not looking at many more nice days here in the Upper Peninsula. So I figured I'd take advantage of the one I have. I want to talk to you guys about testimony today. Testimony, that's a way of presenting the gospel. When you're teaching, you're presenting the gospel in the third person. When you're preaching, you're presenting the gospel in the second person. But when you're testifying, you're presenting the gospel in the first person. And we're going to have a couple of guys at Lakefield Baptist this coming Sunday who are going to be presenting their testimony. So I thought I'd do a Word for Wednesday about testimony because it's been on my mind a lot lately. A few weeks ago we had a seminar at the church where we talked about, how to properly present your testimony to other people. And during that seminar, we had quite a few people stand up and give their testimony, and some of them were pretty wild. People talking about how they were saved out of a life of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, suicide attempts, criminal activity, and there are several others there, including myself, who heard these wild testimonies of people who are saved out of pretty rough lifestyles and thought, wow, my testimony is pretty boring. I was saved when I was a kid, and I grew up going to church my whole life, and that's that. And I thought about it, and I thought, you know what? Both of those testimonies are the same thing, really. Those wild and crazy ones of people who are drug addicts and attempting suicide, yeah, they had a Jesus get me out of this moment, and a moment where Jesus reached down into the mud and pulled them out. But then, on the other hand, people like me, who have testimonies that may seem boring by comparison, our testimonies are really the same thing. Jesus, get me out of this. Only with the first group, he pulled them out of the mud that they were in, whereas the boring group, Jesus took us by the hand early in life and said, follow me, I will lead you around all of this. And for those of you who are like me, who maybe have what you would consider the boring testimony, I'd ask you to consider both testimonies are equally a result of God's grace. Both testimonies are equally a result of God's grace, and both of them involve sinners being saved by grace. And yeah, by worldly standards, by standards of humans, people, one might seem more exciting than the other, but both result in rejoicing in the presence of angels. And I'd say, at the end of it all, the testimony of people who say, I was saved when I was a kid, and I grew up going to church my whole life, got married, I had a family, raised them going to church. That is just as pleasing to God as the other one. So don't downplay your testimony. It may be there's somebody out there who needs to hear that testimony just as much as people who need to hear the other testimonies as well. Thanks for joining me on this Word for Wednesday. This is a ministry of Lakefield Baptist Church in McMillan, Michigan. If you're in this area and don't have a church to attend on Sunday mornings at 11 o'clock, please join us here. Thanks.